Hello.
Hi, Terry.
Hello, Anjali. I've been thinking about guilt and shame and how it seems that so many people's lives are ruled by guilt and shame. Do you find that true?
I think that's a good and valid observation. Many times I've come across situations where people's decisions are affected by guilt, so much so they're not even aware of it.
Right, exactly. I think that's true for many people. And guilt is one of the drivers.
Right. What would you say about shame, though?
Well, the difference between guilt and shame is that guilt tends to be situational and is often remedied by changing a situation or by making something concrete happen. Shame has more to do with character and feeling, and most people are so bad at dealing with their own feelings. The typical response to shame is blame.
Interesting.
So if I run over my neighbor's dog, I can feel guilty about it for a minute, and then I start feeling shameful, and then I think, well, that dog shouldn't have been out at that time of day. Why did they let him off the leash?
Right.
I'm blaming to dispossess the feeling, and I think that happens a lot.
And I think much of it is also taking ownership of our own actions and our own
Certainly,
thoughts.
certainly.
Because if one was to resolve this guilt and shame, one has to acknowledge that first.
Indeed, the first step is always acknowledging it.
Right.
But after the first step, what would you recommend as a process for dealing with?
I think, as you said, after acknowledging it, understanding why in the first place you feel such a way, and if you do, to be able to make peace with it by understanding how this affects your decisions, and sometimes it affects people's decisions day to day. From, like the example that you said, hit neighbor's dog or something like that, can affect how we think about things and how our interaction is going to be with the neighbor, right? So after acknowledging it, understanding that it is something that you can make peace with.
Right. Acknowledging it and understanding you can make peace with it. And then maybe trying it out.
Right.
And saying to yourself, what if I didn't feel that way? Let me try to behave or make my decisions without that feeling, just for a while, just to see how it works.
Right, and I think you make this point very clearly in your upcoming workbook also, which is how would things appear if they were different from your experience of things?
An essential question, and thank you for mentioning the workbook, which will be published next week.